And we are live, Pontiac Power Hour. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. My name is Buff from Buff's Garage, and next to me I've got
Ray from Punisher Lemans Garage.
And guys, this is the night you've been waiting for. We appreciate you guys coming out on Thanksgiving. We know everyone's had a busy day. You're probably wanting to take a nap right now, but we got Steve Magnanti here on our Pontiac Power Hour tonight. So thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah, pretty special night, I'd say. I mean, other than Dalton, I guess Austin, they were pretty big YouTubers, but this guy, everybody kind of knows him.
So you guys probably caught the trailer coming in. Steve's been around for a long time. He definitely influenced my upbringing and reading the magazines and the cars and the books and just everything that he's done for the automotive world. And of course, we had Junkyard Gold. Now we have Junkyard Crawl, which I watch religiously every day. I got to tell you, we're super excited to have Steve on the show. So I'm going to say, without further ado, welcome, Steve Magnanti.
Yeah, great to be here, guys. I have my turkey hangover starting. I just had turkey dinner about 2 hours ago, so the tryptophan, I guess it is, or something like that's kicking in. But it's all good. It's all good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're thankful that you're here.
Yeah.
So normally, like we said, we start our show off. We are pretty much Pontiac based, although we've had some controversy back and forth about what constitutes Pontiac, what doesn't, that kind of stuff. And honestly, that's kind of where it's fun to have you here, because you know a lot of the little subtle nuances and ins and outs of all kinds of cars. And, we wanted to bring you on and just kind of talk about stuff that you want to talk about.
Sure. Well, it's funny, I've been around a while. I was born in 1964, the year that the GTO came out, right? John DeLorean and Jim Wangers and everybody, they put a 389 in the midsize, breaking the rule of a 330 cubic inch ceiling. And of course, they thought they get punished. Well, they sold, 50,000 units, and Pontiac says, this is okay. Next thing you know, the SS 396 arrives and, GS 400. So the Pontiac kicked that door open in 64. So anyway, but speaking of what is a Pontiac? I remember in 2004 when the Holden Monaro, which kind of is sort of maybe kind of a Pontiac, but I remember Bob Lutz was at this thing. It was a press day, and I was there. I'm talking to Bob Lutz, and he's talking, I respect him. And he said that we're not going after the muscle car people. We're going after the BMW 5 Series guys. I don't know, man. I'm thinking to myself, you want to hit this thing hard for the muscle people, like the Challenger kind of did, going old school. But with that said, the GTO, the modern one, although it has a Chevy engine, whatever, it's all GM, and they're great cars. The new GTOs are just as good as the old ones, really, as long as they're in it. They're not that pretty, but they're awesome to drive. The classics are just unbeatable.
And they're super fast, that's for sure.
Yeah. In fact, my favorite GTO of all time, I'm a big model builder.
Yes.
There it is.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, Blue Warrington, it had a Pontiac Hemi in it and stuff. I built this, and actually this thing, it's got weights in the back, so it actually hovers like in a wheelie, like that.
Oh,
so,
that's awesome.
And this is the mid-phase one where the engine went into the middle. But the 65 GTO to me is about the epitome. If only Pontiac made a 421 Super Duty version of it. But again, the performance band came along in 63. But still, for what it was, the 65 GTO, delicious. 69 Ram Air 4. I mean, there's so many good ones. 74, 350 Shaker 4-speed GTO, the Ventura 2. I'll take that too. They're all good. So yeah, Pontiacs are awesome.
So would you consider any of those to be one of your top 3 cars if you could choose one, and why?
Yeah, about 65 GTO, tri-power 389, 4-speed, 433 safe T-track would be nice. Dealer install with the 433s, I guess, but I'd probably put a 421 in there and, hide it and sneak it. The aluminum front brake drums are something kind of cool on GTOs. A lot of folks don't realize that, and I find them once in a while. I do a thing called, the Junkyard Crawl. It's a video series here on YouTube, and just found actually last week at Berniston Auto Wrecking a 66 Grand Prix with the 8 lugs. And while I was at it, there was also a 65 Buick with the 12-inch aluminum drums up front, and a 67 or so Tempest with an aluminum drum on the front, all three at the same place, same time. And I love the Junkyard. It's kind of a history lesson. It's a classroom. And when you can put all three things together in one video, it's 1 + 1, 3 is more than 3 when you have those three things together. So, but Pontiac and GM's brake developments, the aluminum stuff was groundbreaking. Nobody else had aluminum drums. GM was a leader in many ways. Yeah,
for sure.
Is a leader. What am I saying? Was.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the moment for you? Because I remember when I first fell in love with cars, but what was the moment for you, Steve, when you absolutely said, I am in love with cars?
Yeah. Well, again, I was born in 1964, so I'm 58, going on 9, according to my ex-wife. But anyway, I had dinner with her tonight, by the way. We're still friends, But anyway,
right.
It would have been 1974. I'm 10 years old. The OPEC oil crisis was a year previous, 1973. There was political hassles, and OPEC decided to punish America by cutting the spigot on oil. So suddenly we're into this thing called the 70s and downsizing and catalytic converter, the Clean Air Act. Now we need clean air, yeah, but the muscle car thing just evaporated after 72, 73. The OPEC thing killed. And that's when you could buy GTOs for like $500. People were trading in their GTOs for Rabbits and Civics. Seriously,
right.
That was the thing. And the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit from 76 to 86. And it was meant to save 2% in fuel, which is insane. Oil. With that said, it was dark time. So when I'm 10 years old, I found a stack of Superstock magazines that were from the 60s. And I saw Brutus on the cover of Superstock, that Hemi, the Pontiac Hemi Power GTO. And I found a stack of Superstocks from the mid-60s in 74. And I was fully aware that this is not the Pinto Pony MPG. To me, they were only like 5-6 years old, 10, but to me, it seemed like another era. So from 74 on, age 10, I discovered 60s muscle cars through old Hot Rod and Carcraft magazines. They were only 5 or 10 years old, but it seemed like they were from another million years earlier. And then, of course, that led to Matchbox, Hot Wheels, and then model cars. So, yeah, the mid-70s was when I became aware that they don't build them like they used to, in a way,
For sure. Yeah. I have a 63 Pontiac Grand Prix, and actually pulled it out of a guy's field where it was sitting under a tree for 40 years. It's only got 45,000 miles on it, but it sat under a tree where pretty much the whole back half of the car was rusted out.
Yeah.
But I was able to throw it together in 90 days just to get it to the no-name nationals.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not original Pontiac, and I do catch a lot of crap for that. But at some point, maybe it will be.
When you say not original, has it got like a Ford truck chassis on it, or how is it not original? Is it just it's not restored, or?
So the car was sitting with missing the drivetrain.
Okay.
And everything else was there. Like, it looked like a grandma car that had just been left. Wow. Lots of options, AC, automatic, all that. Well, I was trying to get this car ready in 90 days, and I literally had my personal side yard full of garbage, junk cars. Yeah. And so I just threw an LS with a TH350 in it just to get it there. Yeah. And, it runs and drives. It does what it needs to do. It doesn't mean that that's how it's going to stay, but it's got the beautiful patina on it that I'm never going to touch. All the windows are still there. The original windshield's in it. Last driven in the 70s. It's got a little sticker. So I love it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful car.
Yeah. Well, let's remember that, Buick V6s were installed in Pontiacs as early as 1976. So the GM corporate engine thing, it's, yeah. And I get it. Purists it's cool, but it's this room. I mean, if you put a flathead Ford in it, well, that'd be a little weird, but you didn't do that.
I did have a guy offer a 440 Hemi, and then someone else offered me a 460 Ford. And I said, you know what, if I could make it work, I would, just to get it there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the LS was sitting here. It was easy to throw in, and it's not going to be what probably stays in the car. But, Ray here, he's got the Punisher Lemans car, and it's an amazing car, and it's like 700 horsepower with a turbo LS in it. So it's not a Pontiac powered car, but it's a killer Pontiac car.
I know. I guess technically, and tell me, Ray, about that. The Punisher. I saw that was in Carcraft, right toward the end when Carcraft went away. Car magazine, or
well, it wasn't mine.
okay.
My car's just been built in the last 5 years. It's a 71 Le Mans. It's got a 5.3. It's got all the normal stuff, gap rings, rods, pistons. Got a tick cam and a 78 millimeter turbo. It ran low tens with an automatic in it. Now it's got a 5-speed in it. It's more of a road race type deal. So
how was that getting down the track? I mean, when I was at Hot Rod, there's a thing called the NMCA, and there was a lot of Pontiacs in that. But basically the turbo cars were kind of at a disadvantage in a sense because they had to build boost and stuff, and that was with an automatic and a trans brake. I can only imagine a stick in a turbo. Is that a special challenge trying to drag race, or how's that play?
I've been working on it, and I can get it off the line. It's kind of faster if I leave in second, because my gear ratio is kind of weird. So first is too low and second's too high. So,
and what happens in third, Ray?
Well, that was the old transmission, and it broke. I destroyed it bad at the No Name Nationals. I crammed second gear, and then when I crammed third, it just there was a lot of pieces. So, and you've been around long enough, you've seen that kind of stuff happen.
T5, or what tranny is that?
Actually, it's a AR5 it was out of a Chevy Colorado.
Okay.
And now it's got it's basically a Toyota transmission. It's an Asian transmission. It's out of a Pontiac Solstice.
Is it strong enough for the job? I mean, a lot of those things, they're born for a 6 or something, but I don't know. Maybe they're good.
If I don't leave on slicks and on a sticky track, it'll be fine. I mean, I just got to learn how to not drive it like I mean to drive it,
Right.
Yeah. It's all good. Yeah. They say reserve capacity that's baked into things like the 10 bolt or 12 bolt rear axles. They're fine. There's reserve capacity, but you put slicks on that, and you're going to find out what the reserve is pretty quick, because they weren't
right.
Now it's a lot. It's what it is. So using things for their purpose, and then if not, we just build it from there. Right on. Yeah.
Well, with the automatic in it, it had a real bad converter slip in it.
Yeah.
And it ran 1032, and it wouldn't run over 130 miles an hour no matter what I did.
Converter just not efficient at the top end.
Yeah. So I went 1032 at 130, and then I got kicked out for no roll cage and lap belts.
Okay. No shoulder harness?
No shoulder.
Okay.
The track official was not happy. I mean, it did like a couple foot wheelie, and he was at my pit spot on his 4-wheeler when I got there. He was yelling at me. I was like, okay. So, but that's an honor, man, to get kicked out of the track for going too fast.
That's right. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Keep that time slip,
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
132. That's hauling ass. I mean, wow. Yeah, that's cooking with 5.3 liters and, a big old turbo that behaves like an 8-liter probably, but hey, that's awesome. That's cool. Maybe a 9-liter, it's kind of funny. I think there's a calculation you can make on turbo size and boost and how it theoretically makes the cubic inches grow to some other number. It's academic, but yeah, that's interesting.
Right. Well, it's still being done now. Small displacement 4-cylinder engines. My wife's got a 2021 Kia Sorento with a turbo on it. It makes like 285 horsepower.
Yeah.
And that thing's scrappy for a little 4-cylinder. So it's just the turbo things came a long ways.
Yeah, the reserve capacity, the rods, the crank, the block, all that stuff that's got plenty of beef baked into it. Because, when it goes 10/10, it's got to hang in there. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely like pushing our limits around here, some of the stuff that we build. And, have you seen the Holy Goat? The car that's all shut up. Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story about that.
All right.
That was Dalton Stummitt with pole bar. This is the speedometer out of that car right here.
Awesome.
Oh.
Now the way that plays out is remember Spanky Assiter from Barrett Jackson? You know, him and his wife Amy. Well, they take on auctions all over the country, and there was a guy in Texas who had 280 old cars, mostly Chrysler products, and they were going to sell them on an online auction, online only. So they hired me to go out there and do 150 walk around videos to prime the pump. So 3 months later, when the auction happened online, people would be ready to bid. One of the vehicles there, and I got to say, these guys, you know, good old Texas boys, they were Mopar guys, and they had a 70 GTO that they used for target. They shot the heck out of that car. It was horrible and sad. It was a real GTO, and that was the car that Dalton Summit bought for, I think, $300 and brought back to life, the Holy Goat. And he did a wonderful thing with that. But I know that car, and I didn't shoot it, but I was there. The Haney brothers were the fellows who owned that, and we did a video, and he shot the GTO again. But it was the sad thing about it was it's a Texas car, no rust, but it's beautiful in that Dalton brought that thing back to life, and it's got. I was sure that somebody with a Ram Air 4 collection would buy that thing for $5,000 or $10,000 because it's holy smokes, but it went for $300 or $230, I think. So. Wow. So, but he did the right thing. He saved it. It was a real goat, you know, 242 and 400 automatic AC car. It wasn't like a Ram Air 4 4-speed. That would have been tragic.
Right.
You know, it was still a cool car, but he did the right thing.
Well, Dalton's actually in our chat right now. He says that you're the way he found the car. So
yeah.
He actually lives.
Dalton, thank you. If you ever want this back, Dalton, it's yours. Just call me. You know, just tell me. You know, I'm surprised he gave me. It's 140. It's a GTO speedometer 130. You know, the whole four holes in it. And, you know, there it is. You know.
I just love that you have that. That's awesome.
Yeah, John Haney is the man who shot this, and there you have it. Right?
I got a question from Jeff at Two Hacks Garage. He says, "Steve, do you ever come across old dealership memorabilia?"
Well, you know, I mean, stuff like you know, Pontiac sales brochures, these sorts of things. I find these things a lot. I love.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, these are common. I don't say they're common. You know what I mean? But on YouTube or eBay, you can sometimes you can. You know, if you buy wrong, you can pay $50 or something like this. But I went to the Stafford Springs swap meet in Massachusetts, and the guy had $1 a piece, a table packed with dealer brochures. I loaded up on them, you know. But as far as like dealer signs and neon and stuff, no, I never. You know, I'll occasionally in Junkyard, I'll see like an old Sunoco sign or a Gulf sign full of holes, as always, blown up, shot up, and stuff. But no, dealer stuff is very, very valuable. And one thing it's really hard to find is, you know, at dealerships, like every dealer, every year, the manufacturer sends out basically stuff to tell the salesman how to cross sell. That's the stuff that's really hard to find and really rare. You know, the inside stuff that's not meant to be seen by the public, and those things go into the dumpster because it's last year's news. You know, so that's stuff cool when you find it. But yeah, but it's now almost everything's available online, which is cool. You know, the internet.
Oh yeah. So Nathan's Mopar Garage wants to know what's going on with your project car.
Yeah, all right. With that same auction, the Great Texas Mopar Horde auction event is what they called it, mostly Chrysler products. Well, I bought a '62 Dodge Dart police car, the B body, first year for the B body. It's an actual '09 police car, 318 poly, but it's it's heavy. I bought it, shipped it to Massachusetts, and it's sleeping in my garage. It's ready for a 513. I want to make a match wedge 4-door out of it, kind of, and leave it alone, like the Dalton Summit car. It's rust free. The floors are gone, but I've got replacement floors. It's just a thing of time. I just haven't had time. So I call it Project REM Charger, not Ram Charger, REM, sleeper, you know, whatever.
Yep.
And it's sleeping, put it like that. So that's kind of where it is. It's still in the garage. I just have to, my problem is that I do my YouTube videos, and I spend all my time on that. And if the camera guy is not here and I work on the REM Charger, then it's not a video. And the hope is that to show that thing and make a video series out of it. So until I have another camera guy, or I can get more time with him, it's kind of slumbering. Or I just have to say, you know what, it's not a video. I'm just going to build it and just get busy. Right. Because I don't shoot my own stuff. I always have a guy there. I don't know what's wrong with me, but you know, editing. Well,
that would be one thing that, you know, if you could just kind of show your viewers, you know, hey, I actually am working on this thing, and just give them little tidbits. You wouldn't even have to do a full series out of it. We would love to watch it. Like I wake up every morning getting ready for work, and I watch the Junkyard Crawl because that's a good way to get your day going, right? And you post it early enough that here in, you know, Central Time Zone, that's when I wake up. So it works out very well.
Cool. Yeah, there are 12 or 13 installments on the REM Charger, but again, it's been several months since we've done anything. But more to come. I'll put it like that. It's eventually.
I was going to grab this from Dalton. He said that he sent the clock. No, what did he send out?
Yeah,
I missed
speedometer
it.
face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll find it.
He said he sent out the
And
clock.
also a bucket of dust. Seriously, I have a Planters peanut full of dust.
He sent out the rally clock to a subscriber, and they turned it into a clock.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool. And I know Dalton's doing a Roadrunner too. I think he found a Roadrunner that was smashed and bashed or something, and he's doing it.
Yeah, I actually went over because he lives right over the line from me. I went over and helped him, and we might have, I don't know, set it on fire the first time we got it to run. But
like
it was pretty good.
Like billowing flames, or just a little thing.
We had maybe a smidge too much fuel down the old carb, and the exhaust manifold wasn't on, so we get a nice fireball, and it makes for good YouTube.
Yeah. An impromptu haircut. Who needs eyebrows?
Yeah. We definitely checked eyebrows after the fact.
So, Steve,
All right.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is the craziest car you found in the junkyard?
Well, I mean, it's been a lot. Here's the thing. Now we all have cell phones with cameras in them and stuff. Back in 1987, I was in New Hampshire at Chuck Pierce's Mopar stash. And there's an old Dodge Charger, kind of sliced in half. The cowl was gone and stuff. I walk over to the thing and I say, hang on, this thing's got a torque box in front of the leaf spring, and it has an H pipe. This is a Hemi Charger. It was the remains of a 66 Hemi Charger sliced in half. But as you know, like you can tell certain things by the body, the torque boxes and the way the H pipe. That was a Hemi Charger. I didn't have a camera. I had there's no pictures. So, but Chuck Pierce, I think he's still around. He's a collector guy in New Hampshire, Mopar stuff mostly. But he took that car, and it was the next week he had that thing out of there, and it was on its way. He'd walked by it for years, and I said, dude, that's a Hemi Charger. So that was interesting. Certainly fair number of GTOs. I mean, it depends where I am. The Junkyard Crawl is my current thing. Before that, there was Roadkill's Junkyard Gold, and they flew me all over the country. And I have a soft spot for Pontiac Tempests, rope drive 61, 2, and 3s. We found some 326 4-barrel 4-speed cars, like at Turner's Auto Salvage in Fresno. There's one of those there. It's a Lemans, whatever it is, and it's a 4-speed 326 4-barrel car, and the Trophy 4 with the 4-barrel. That's a rare bird too. I've seen a few of those in boneyards. Never come across it was a Judge at Kerboy's Auto Wrecking in Sturbridge. It was burnt to a crisp, but it was a Judge. It had the holes on it. It was fried. It was an automatic car, but so yeah, I've never found like a Swiss cheese Catalina or anything like that, but but there's always something. Even like the Pontiac, the Aztec, I found one of those, and those are fascinating vehicles. They have a built-in workbench, and they're pretty cool things. A little ugly, but they're not. I mean, it was a great idea. It was intended to look like a utility or a toy. It was designed by people from Hasbro at General Motors, and people just didn't get it. It just was easy. It went over one of those deals, but they're kind of neat. The Aztec, even as odd as that is, it's I found a few of those. They're kind of neat.
And that's the one that I know what it looks like, but the seats are supposed to go down, and it comes with the rear tent and the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. There's options, but yes, yeah. And there's like a cooler, a Aztec cooler. It's in Pontiac on it. It's a must-have if you're a Pontiac, tailgate person. But putting your GTO truck, it says Pontiac on it. It's pretty cool. It's kind of somehow it was missed, by the market.
Hunter from Sand Mountain Ballistic says he knows where a few 4-speed 63 Tempests are.
Yeah,
he's one of our resident pure Pontiac guys. He absolutely loves the poncho power.
Yeah, Arnie Beswick, the Tameless Tiger, the 63 car, that Swiss Cheese 421 car. Well, it was the Swiss Cheese is a full-size car, but Beswick's still very much alive. And I got to say, I used to write for a thing called Elapsed Times, which was Carcraft's sort of drag race nostalgia one shot. It would come out, I think 4 or 5 times a year. And I interviewed Arnie Beswick for 6 hours, and I have the tapes to this very day. And he's talking to me about stuff that happened in '64 like it was yesterday. Talk about a guy, you guys probably have dealt with Arnie Beswick a little bit. Pontiac.
I haven't.
Yeah, Pontiac legend. He was one of the first funny car drivers. The funny farmer, the Tameless Tiger, and legend. Those Tempests. He was one of the first guys to put those things on a map.
I believe Jeff from Two Hacks has a picture he just posted with him the other day.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, it's as we roll forward. I'm 58. I thought I was 20 last week, but the people who we look up to who are now 90 and 100 and they're going away. Ronnie Soggs, Buddy Martin, Bill Jenkins. I bought him a beer at PRI one time, and it just makes you feel old when people. Well, I'll leave it like that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so you've kind of told us a lot about several different parts of the Pontiac, but can you give all of our viewers an obscure fact about Pontiac that maybe they don't know? I mean, we got some pretty diehard guys in here, but maybe tell them something they don't know.
Well, I mean, it's funny if you have my book here, 1001 Muscle Car Facts. This is a book that it took 9 months to make, and it's everything from Ford to Mopar to Pontiac to AMC Studebaker. But most people don't realize that Pontiac grew out of something else called Oakland. And Oakland was a car brand that was like Chevrolet and Buick and all of that. And they had a thing called the Pontiac, which was an Oakland. And then the Oakland kind of fizzled. I think I may be wrong, but the Depression kind of zonked Oakland. But the Pontiac was a lower price version, and that lived on. And we got the Pontiac for another 70 years. So so that's kind of weird. A lot of folks don't realize that the Oakland came first. Pontiac grew out of it. Kind of weird. But the Pontiac Oakland Club, right? That's what that's about. That's
Well, I would ask, where can you find that book now? Is it readily available?
No, unfortunately, this book was 2015, 14, something like that, or 2013.
Okay.
I didn't know 1001 Corvette facts, 1001 Mustang facts, and CarTech Books is great, but every year they crank out another 15 titles. So they usually, because if they had everything in print, they'd have like thousands of titles. So they discontinued this one. You can still find it on Amazon and YouTube or eBay, but it may be a little bit more. I don't know, but It used to be at Barnes and Noble. I go to Barnes and Noble and stand there, get my cell phone, take my books at Barnes and Noble, but it is out of print. They're out there. You can get them. And there's actually there's a digital version. I know if you can call if you go to the CarTech website, you can download it for some amount or whatever it is. But they're still around. But yeah, they're not in print currently.
Oh, awesome! We've got the head of the AHRA in our chat right now.
Oh yeah, cool.
That's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and paste Steve's YouTube channel. And for you guys that aren't subbed to him, head over there. He posts pretty much daily.
Every day.
Yep. And for a YouTube content creator, we get maybe once a week, once every couple weeks out of a lot of the guys. Steve's posting every day. So get out there, subscribe to him. He's got some good stuff out there. Going to grab your website too. I want to make sure that they have that.
Yeah, stevemags.com. It's more about the YouTube channel. I mean, I don't really. I used to have vlogs and stuff. It's been a long time. So, but if you want to go stevemags.com, you'll see stuff that was written a while ago. It's still fun, but that's mostly the YouTube channel, Junkyard Crawl.
Right.
There's 400 videos. Ford, Toyota, Pontiac, Buick, everything. Diamond Rio. There's I go to junkyards and basically. Interesting vehicle. I do an 8 to 12 minute walk around and just basically describe what it is, what it isn't, why it's cool. And it's done in one take. And the reality is we shoot 7 in one day and they roll out for the week. We come back next week, do another 7. And of course, I'm in Massachusetts where snow will bury the cars. And if you can't see it, that's the point. But what you don't want to go dark. So we did 49 videos about 2 weeks ago in Vermont in a 6-day rip. A lot of cool stuff. A 59 Pontiac Bonneville, first year for the wide track, and we did a piece on that. And not a tri-power car, unfortunately. But so every single day a new video. But I do just one day a week. I crank those things out. But yeah, every single day there's a new video. Yeah,
and that's amazing because there's stuff that I thought I knew a lot about. Some of the more obscure cars, and I can tell you that it's those little, I call them nuggets that you put out there. Where I'm watching something and I know exactly what the car is that you're talking about, and next thing I know, you're teaching me something that I've never even heard of.
Wow, I appreciate that. Yeah,
it's really good information.
Yeah, it's a thing where if I say to myself, I research before I do these things. In fact, this is sort of not the Bible, but the Bible. This right here, each page in this thing is what I write up about a car, right? Like, right here. And what I do is basically I take pictures in the junkyard. I have hundreds of vehicles in my computer. I select 7 that I'm going to focus on. So I do notes for each of those things. And if I'm researching and I say, I didn't know that, I say that's gold because, I haven't seen everything. Well, the Saab turbo convertible, who cares, right? Well, turbo convertibles, the windshield's glued in. It's a structural part of the car. Whereas on the hardtop, it's a floating rubber thing. And who knew, right? And the A-pillars go deeper and they're welded in because because it's a convertible, right? And that detail right there makes it like, wow, that's cool. Every car has a story. Every single car has something interesting and weird about it. If you put a light on it, people love to hear about it. That's my hope.
For sure.
Cars don't talk either. That's the thing that kind of stinks. So we got to give them a voice.
That's absolutely right.
Kit's the only car that talked.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Little David Hasselhoff there.
That's right.
So you know a lot about cars. You've seen obviously a lot about cars, or a lot of different cars. If you had to give one piece of advice to someone who's trying to seek out a classic car, and what I mean by that is there are people that know exactly what they want. They know exactly how they want to build it. They might even build it themselves or pay somebody else to do it. And then there's other folks that they don't really know what they want. They just want a classic car and they want something they can drive to go get ice cream, that kind of thing. But if you could give them one piece of advice, what would that be?
Don't buy rust. If you can avoid it, and here's the thing, they only made how many Super Duty Trans Ams? You find when it's rusty, you got to fix it. But if you can, if you're just buying it, not a snack, but buy from Arizona, Idaho, California, you know what I mean? I'm here in New England where cars get raunchy fast, you know what I mean? And once you start with the rust, it just kind of never stops, You do the quarter panels, but inside the frame rails, oh my, it's paper thin. It's a Swiss cheese of the worst kind, And so, it's not going to surprise anybody, but a lot of cars that are done over from rust states have a whole lot of plastic in them, and that's a temporary fix because it bubbles eventually. And you can buy time. It's a high school project car, sure, but you got to do it in metal, or just skip that and buy something that's rust free if you can.
Right, absolutely.
Buy rust, buy the most original rust free thing you can afford, or go to where they're at. Rather than take a train to Arizona and then drive it home. That's the way to fly. But
I'm actually getting ready to do that. A subscriber donated a car. It's obviously a lot newer. It's Pontiac Grand Prix. What is it? 98.
Yeah.
A subscriber is just going to give me the car, but I've got to get down to Texas to get it. And rather than, truck and trailer and all this stuff, it's been sitting. I'm going to just take a bus down there with my toolkit and drive it home 500 miles. We'll see if it works.
That's the place to get it from, Texas, And one thing I'll say too is, I did a Spanky Assiter has Freedom Car Auctions. I did an auction with him in Choctaw, Durant, Oklahoma. And there were cars being sold there that to the locals, to the people there, like, a Chevy Tahoe for $6,000, rust free. Drive it to New England, double your money, because people like vehicles. If it hasn't got rust, it's a premium. So it's funny. In some states, people are not spoiled, but they have it easy. Like in Southern California, a car's got rust. You're talking about that surface rust? Are you kidding me? Structural rust and a Texas suntan are two different things.
For sure, absolutely.
Grand Prix should be cool.
One of our viewers, Jay from Irish Outlaw Garage, has a '68 Pontiac ambulance. Yeah. And he actually brought it to No Name Nationals, and it ran pretty good on the track. But he's got a heck of a story on that thing, because he pulled it basically out of a swamp, and the floors were gone, but the frame structure, all that was there. So it's kind of an amazing car to see in person.
Yeah, ambulances and professional cars are cool, even like airport limousines and stuff. In Vermont, 2 weeks ago, we found a '68 Chrysler Newport 8-door. It was an Ambrewster Stageway conversion based on a 383 4-barrel car, but it had split rims, truck rims on it to handle the 9 people. And ambulances are equally weird. They often have, like Cadillac ambulances are the only Cadillacs with leaf springs in the back, no coils. It's basically kind of a truck frame that Cadillac built for its commercial chassis that's like weird. If you like weird, check out commercial vehicles. They often have things, huge brakes, special axles, and they're cool.
He had some trouble finding some very specific bushing parts that were just gone, and apparently it was a 1 year, not a Pontiac part, even though it was a Pontiac ambulance. And he finally found what he needed, but it took a lot of work to find it. But he made it happen.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, ambulances are commercial vehicles, I guess they call them.
Right.
Professional cars. There you go. Professional vehicles. Yeah, flower.
We got Barrow's Garage. He said the cool thing about that 1940 Pontiac was the self-winding clock in the jockey box.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. A lot of things that that now seem like nothing, but a clock in a car was a big deal. And some even in the steering wheel. When you turn the steering wheel, there was a little weight inside that would wind the clock. It's cool.
That is really cool.
Windshields and early hydromatic transmissions. You might have to try and rebuild it. I'm sure anything's fixable, but a lot of interesting stuff. The earliest examples of any new technology are always just interesting, and see how they pulled it off. And things that are now common when they first started to happen are generally fascinating to check out. But yeah, 40 Pontiacs, big year.
Oh yeah. All right. So my big question to you is, we kind of know where your passion for cars came from. I mean, I was a Hot Wheels guy. I, of course, grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard and all that kind of stuff. And I have yet to be able to Dukes of Hazzard a car on the highway, or on the back roads, but it's coming. Yeah. My big question to you is, what was your first car?
I wish I could say it was something cooler than it was, but it was a it was a '69 AMC Ambassador, 4-door, former Civil Air Patrol car. It had for official use only a Civil Air Patrol logos. And in '69, the Ambassador was only available with a 290 V8. And well, this was a 232 6-bang with a 3 on the tree. It was a government fleet car. And I bought this thing in 1983 or so. My dad bought it for me for $500. And I went through the clutch, 3-speed column car with, I think, 280 gear in the back. I was cooking the clutch every time. I didn't know how to drive a clutch. I did, but that was my first car. It was big. We used to drive around listening to, like, I don't know, Dead Kennedys and stuff like that, playing music and riding our skateboards and drinking beer. Don't do that anymore. But for official use only on the side, we gave the Civil Air Patrol such a bad name. That was my first car. And then a Renault Le Car after that. And I said, there's Renault.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's no way I'll ever have another Renault, or you, Joe,
sure.
Joe's, but that was an interesting. The seats folded flat. I'll leave it at that. That was a good thing about the Renault Le Car, on date night.
I was going to say, that comes in handy when you're young man.
Lug nuts. It had 3 lug nuts. I mean, but they're goofy little cars. But today they're suddenly $20,000 for a good one. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it's got to be a good one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything.
Well, I pulled my first car as a '68 Chevelle out of a field. I have a way of doing that apparently. Yeah. And $600. I had this car with, it was a '68, but somebody had swapped a 350 in it. Long story short, I just saw it came off Barrett Jackson a couple years ago. It sold for like $38,000. Same car, the VIN number and everything. Yeah.
Had it been through a restoration and stuff?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. When I had it, it was really rough, but I was a kid. I was 14. I didn't care.
Yeah, it's like seeing ex-girlfriends with their new husbands. It's kind of weird to see cars you once owned and there they are again. Yeah. But it's cool. At least it lives on. That's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Pole Barn says we're going to probably slide around some back roads soon because he's got the Rolled Runner, the Holy Goat. We could just get a police car to follow us. We'd have a good time.
Yeah, right.
Staged police car, not a real one. We don't want that.
Yeah. Well, if you can get footage, that's viral. So,
Absolutely. B&R Racing asked, are you working on any personal project cars? And we kind of touched on one. Anything else in the pipeline?
Well, yeah, I have a thing for altered wheelbase cars. I mean, I love them. You know what I mean? They're just my thing. And I've built 3 of them, real ones. I had the Wilshire Shaker Nova at Hot Rod. I don't know if you remember that thing. It was yellow and white. If you Google Wilshire Shaker, 502 push button torque fly. It was a tribute to the old door slammer match races right before the flip top funny cars came along. It was a street car. Built that, and then they had a '63 Dodge Dart with a max wedge, push button torque flight, altered wheelbase, straight axle up front called the Rampage. If you Google that, you'll see it. And currently, I sold those. I still have one though. I have a '81 Ford Fairmont, 2-door posts. Yeah, work with me, with a 4.6 Cammer and 8-stack Hillborns and a 5-speed. It looks like an old funny car, but it's based on a new car. It's idiotic or it's cool. You choose. But I still have that. Yeah, it's a little.
I think it sounds awesome.
Yeah, leaf springs.
I say cool.
It's the only Fox vehicle with Chrysler Superstock leaf springs in the back. They work great because the 4-link in a Fox, if you raise the ride height of the car, you get wicked axle hop. It just doesn't happen. So you get that stuff out of there, put leaf springs in there, and you're good. Chrysler Superstocks because they're short and they work. But yeah, that's my current project. That's it. That and the police car. Yeah.
All right. Bear Rose Garage asked, what's your opinion on safe-built rat rods as they keep even the crusher meat from going away?
Well, the rat rod thing, that used to be a negative term, a rat rod. I thought it was cool. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't take that personally. It's not an insult. But with that said, some of them are a little raunchy, but I like it. I say, I'd rather own my car and then my car own me. We've all had cars that are too nice to drive. That's boring. So I like
Right.
a raunchy car that shines from the inside out. Now, and if it's dangerous, like some cars, I've seen guys with no floorboards,
Yeah.
and an open drive shaft next to you. And I mean, that's all good until something happens and you just hope, you hope for the best. It's going to hurt you, not other people. But some of the rat rods, like anything else, there was old door slammer funny cars that were nasty little death traps. There's a car called Cheryl Guerrero's Tension. It was in Superstock magazine, 1965. The thing was stick welded death trap. He sat in the middle, Model A axle. This crazy. He was going 8s or 9s in that thing with an hydrazine Hemi, and it was, So I mean, you can find crazy stuff no matter where you look. The Wright brothers, there was a certain airplane truck.
Right.
That was a death trap. But if you can do good work and keep yourself safe, and certainly the rest of the world safe, don't have crappy work.
That's really, it's one thing to take your car out, give it a test run and then go back and make it safe. For me, it's one thing if I take my life into my own hands. It's another if the car, gets into an incident and then somebody else gets hurt. So
and then you wind up in court and hot rods get a bad name and blah, blah, blah.
You just, there's a little bit of, integrity and responsibility, but not to pick on Dalton, but his stuff is still mostly safe.
Funny thing, we kind of have it. We have it really good. The USA, great place to live. Obviously, I have friends in Australia, and if you put a straight axle up front, you have to have that inspected and Magnaflux, all this crazy stuff.
Right.
I build these crazy contraptions. I mean, I say if you're going to hit willow with a hammer and it doesn't, the weld is good. You know what I mean? We make sure that we're not, walking on thin ice, but we're trusted here in this country to kind of, build stuff that hangs in there. And we do, but in other countries, nobody trusts you. That's a stinker to build a hot rod and have some guy say, no, you have to x-ray those welds. What? That's Australia. It's kind of wacky. It's safety, but Sweden too, apparently kind of a, little stiff. If you modify your stuff, it's not as easy as we have it here.
Yep. And I will tell you that our show has followers from Canada, Australia, New Zealand,
Cool.
Kind of all over the place. So we've got a little bit of everything going on, and it is interesting to see what they can build versus what we can build, because we kind of really take for granted the fact that we can kind of do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And the responsibility really is on us. So
I'm saying I love Australia. I feel your pain if you live.
Yes, for sure.
To have somebody breathing down your neck, but sometimes it's warranted. But usually, hot rods are pretty good. We're good. Yeah.
But I think we can all agree though that the Aussies do the ultimate burnout contest.
Yeah. Those drift things with double supercharged circle mobiles, and that's a different thing that's now hit here. But yeah, I think they started that. Yes.
They go crazy and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen the pictures. I've never been, but I've seen the pictures.
Well, I seen one at LS Fest. They had one of their cars at LS Fest and it had a truck bed on it. And I was like, that is the weirdest looking thing ever. And it was wild.
Yeah.
Just some of the stuff they build. But even in Canada, though, they're real strict on what they can do for modification wise on their cars too.
It's funny, in 1964, I'm born in the mid 70s, as you might recall, Corvettes, they had dual exhaust. It was kind of not really, but the pipes were hidden. Shiny tips from the factory. In the 60s and the 50s, dual exhaust were something Detroit automakers bragged about, but hiding dual exhaust systems to get away from the smog police, to get away from any attention from that whole thing. And that trickled down to, performance cars were over and out. And I never, ever thought we'd see what we have now: Challengers, Mustangs, Mach 1s, all this stuff coming back. Basically, 9-second Demon. What? In the 80s, it looked like V8s were going to be gone. The 5-liter Mustang with 235 horsepower it's a great car, but I thought that was about as crazy as it was going to get. I figured by now we'd be riding bicycles. So there's cycles. Everything kind of comes around again. But it's an interesting thing. But yeah, as long as the cars are clean and fuel efficient and meet CAFE, I guess we can kind of do what we want. The electric thing's a little confusing to me, but I'll go there with you if you guys want to. I don't know, whatever.
Well, that brings me to a question from Tim. He's our Tim Mopar guy. You can't have Mopar without Tim. He says, what vehicle is your least like, Steve?
Well, I kind of love them all. You know what I mean? My joke is that there's no way I'll ever have another French car, because French cars are kind of weird. I love France and all that kind of stuff. My mother's people, whatever, ancestors are from there. But like a Citroen DS21, those weird, the atomic cockroach, odd cars, hydrodynamic suspension, and you can change the tire. It hangs, and one tire floats, and a little 4-cylinder Hemi kind of thing, and a lot of unusual design from France. So I don't have any passion to own one, but they're not least liked. I wouldn't say that. I don't really have a least like car. Every car has something to like. Weird but true for me.
All right. Well, we've reached the point of the night. We're going to jump into our trivia. And Steve, we definitely want to hear any tidbits of information you've got. So what we generally do is we get into the trivia. We have, our basic question and our 4 answers. And then our chat will light up with their thoughts on which one's the right answer. And then we hopefully get the right answer in the end. So we're going to head into that.
Okay.
All right, welcome back, guys. This is our Pontiac Trivia sponsored by Super Clean, and we appreciate them every week for sponsoring our trivia show. And with our special guest, Steve Magnanti, we're going to get this started. Now, as usual, you guys hear the questions, see the answers, throw your answers into the chat, and then we'll go through and see who is right. All right, our first question this week. What year did Pontiac make a splatter paint standard in the trunks of a B-body Pontiac? Was it A, 1959, B, 1963, C, 1965, or D, 1970?
Do the viewers answer first, or how do we?
They generally start. Well, they've already started answering. So,
okay.
Remember,
the B body is the full size.
That's right.
A body. So it's one of those little things, and in Chrysler land, the B body is the mid size. But so just there you go.
Right.
A, B, and C.
So do you know this one, Steve?
I don't. I don't want. I have a guess, but I'll say it when the time is right.
All right. Well, let's see. We've got. Oh my goodness, there's so many in here today. Thank you for bringing our viewer subscribership up quite a bit. They wanted to come see and talk to Steve Maggs. Let's see. We got Chris saying in 1965. Jabo says 63. Colleen's going with 70. Cousin Mike's got 63. Ooh, we got a lot of 63s in here.
Yeah.
Few 1970s. And we got another Pontiac guy saying it was the 63. All right. So what do you think, Steve?
I'm not authoritative on this. I think 63. It would be my guess.
All right. Let's find out. It was B, 1963. Okay. So I included a photo of a 1962 Grand Prix with more of the standard paint trunk. And then the 1964, I have a 63, and it does have the splatter trunk, what's left of it. And this picture of the 64 shows it really well. So apparently in 63, they changed it over on the B bodies.
Yeah. Also known as Zolatone, right? I guess that's what they call that. Zolatone and splatter. Eastwood sells that stuff in a spray can. It's pretty good.
Awesome.
But the only thing, you got to clear it like mad. Otherwise, it's almost like it chalks off pretty quick. But you clear it's not. It's okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now we know. Eastwood has a lot of cool stuff.
So if Buff ever gets a trunk, you can splatter paint it with Eastwood.
It has some tech screws, metal to. It's fine.
Stop signs, Yeah.
It's fine. But what's crazy is from the I would say the back seat forward, the car is really solid. It's got a few surface rust holes here and there, but it's from that back seat back where it just sat in the mud. The frame rails were rotted through. They're still solid, but they were rotted through. And then the entire gas tank and trunk pan and all that was gone. Yeah. So one of the funny things, I would do on the YouTube channel is I'd pop the trunk open and pop out of the trunk because there wasn't one. Okay. All right, let's go to the next question. All right, what was the last year Pontiac used the Indian head cheap Pontiac as the high beam indicator? Was it A, 1959, B, 1965, C, 1970, or D, 1972?
Now we're talking about in the dash when you hit the high beams, a little red illuminator would be shaped like an Indian head.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I'll wait till the crowd has spoken.
And there's a lot of people that have had cars, never even knew what that was until all of a sudden there it was. And they're like, what is this? Because we're used to seeing the little blue circle.
Some generic thing.
Right. And not Pontiac. They've got that cheap Pontiac right there in the front.
Did you know that 86 and 87 Buick Grand Nationals and T-Type have a little square that if you take a flashlight, it says power injection? It was for a never used alcohol squirt system that was baked into every Grand National T-Type dash. But there it is. On the bottom right, there's a grid with square little red things. And it said power injection. It lights up, but if it's not lit up, because it's not behind it. So a little weird, like recessive genes, I call them, things that are,
oh, wow.
But that's interesting. The Indian head on the high beam.
Well, if somebody wants to donate a Grand National to me so I can figure that out, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you need a flashlight to see it, to illuminate it. But yeah,
I bet you could get a dash quicker than you could get a Grand National.
It's crazy how those things are like 50 grand. I remember they were like, 12, when they use it. Everything has its day. And I get it. They're cool.
Well, we got several 1970s. We got a 1959, 65. They're just kind of all over the place today. Yeah. A lot of 1970s, though. Jay, he's got the ambulance. He said he found his by accident. So let's see. Wow. Yep. We got a lot of them saying 1970.
Wow.
And Chad at Square Body Stuff says, awesome facts from you, Steve. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Let's see what that answer is. It is C, 1970. And there's a beautiful picture of one. I love that big sweeping speedometer.
Yeah.
So starting in 1959, cheap Pontiac would live on only in the high beam indicator fitted to those full-size models until 1970.
Full-size model. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. The little details. How cool is that? You know what I mean? Not that Pontiac would share an instrument cluster with Buick or whatever, but that ensured they couldn't. Right there.
For sure.
And
I think at one point they even had them on turn signals too.
Okay.
All right. So next question is, when did Pontiac first use the finned brake, the 8-lug wheels on Pontiac cars? Now, was it A, 1955, B, 1957, C, 1958, or D, 1960?
I know this one. I'll be quiet. Just found one in the junkyard.
That's right.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, being a Grand Prix owner, everyone wants to know if I have the 8-lug, which it didn't come with it. And then I've had several people, you get the internet trolls out there. They're like, well, why did you swap out the 8-lug to 5-lug? I'm like, it didn't. This is the original car. It didn't come with 8-lug. Yeah. Oh, they all did. I'm like, no, mine did not.
Yeah.
Yes.
There it is right there. The 8-lug. They're beautiful. $120 is what they were. I mean, that was retail. That's it. And
if people knew at the time what was being done, I think we would have seen a lot more of them out there.
I think people might have been. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
No, you're good. We're here for you, Steve.
Some people might have been scared because, as you know, you on the rear, you can take the 5 lug nuts off. The whole thing comes off. You can get the drum off, on the front, the spindle nut. But the other thing, too, those 8 lugs come off. You get a big old center. In the trunk is an adapter. If you don't have that, you get a flat tire, and the gas station can't fix your wheel because the hub won't work on the tire machine. That might have freaked some people out. And one thing about them, too, that's kind of weird, they're 14-inch only. There's no 15-inch wheels. You'd kind of think that there'd be a bigger wheel on a bigger car. But I was at the Pontiac Nationals. Tom DeMauro, former editor of High Performance Pontiac, I went out there for him to do a story. And there's a guy they were doing reproductions on the 8-lug wheels for GTOs. They were actually adapting. Is that guy still around? Does that ring a bell at all? I forget. I think it was Arrowhead Productions or something like that. But they were making 8-lug conversions for GTOs. Anyway, that was cool.
Well,
and
Chad from Square Body Stuff said he watched a Junkyard Gold episode where you explained all this. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chad. All right. So we've got a lot of different guesses. We've got 1960. We've got 1957. Let's see, 1958. They're just kind of all over the place. Oh, Jared says 1960. All right. It looks like somebody said they even made a 15-lug or 15-inch 8-lug aftermarket, but not not from the factory.
Yeah.
So the answer is D, 1960. So the 8-lug option was officially marketed as the aluminum wheels or aluminum wheel hubs and brake drums. It debuted on 1960 Pontiacs, lasted through 1968 model year, after which it was obsoleted by the popular front disc brake option for 67. And I always like to throw one in, and the guys always give me crap over it. I love concept cars. And so actually it was clear back in 1953 that General Motors did create a aluminum wheel with an integral brake drum kind of after the Bugatti that they put in the Firebird XP21. It was a 6-lug, not an 8-lug, but they did actually put a finned drum wheel on a concept car clear back in the 1950s.
Yeah. And Renaults of the 50s have them too. Those goofy little, it's a similar idea,
Yes. Yeah. Everyone kind of going the same direction, but it took a while before it really caught on. But
and to Pontiac's credit, they did them front and rear. Buick only had aluminum drums up front. It wasn't the 8-lug, but Pontiac really pretty advanced stuff. And as you all know, I think it was 1966. It was a Pontiac GTO that said "Walk softly, but carry a big stick." There's a shot of a GTO with airbrushed 8-lugs on it that led a lot of people to think GTOs could be had with them, but they weren't. But it was a Pontiac ad. It was a plum colored GTO, and it said "Walk softly, but carry a big stick." And there it is, a GTO with 8-lugs on it. A Pontiac ad, but never happened. At least not the production.
See,
weird.
And that's the kind of stuff that I like to hear, because there's a lot of people like they said about mine. It had to have had them from the factory. I'm like, no, it absolutely didn't. And now we know that there's an ad out there that shows one that never existed.
Right. And just a lot of times too, prototype stuff. It's almost like you name it, they thought of it. There's Pontiac Hemi engines. We saw that in Hot Rod magazine. That was playing with McKellar and those guys, but they never in production. But did it exist? Yeah. Was it real? Yeah. But was it for you and me? No. It's a technically yes. You know what I mean? It's a no. Anyway. Yeah.
Whoops. I jumped the gun. All right. For those that didn't see the answers, what is the factory horsepower rating? I'm getting really specific here because I want to see my Poncho Power guys get this. So what's the factory horsepower rating of the 1965 389 with a tri-power carb setup? Is it A, 325 horse, B, 348 horse, C, 360 horsepower, or D, 400 horsepower? Oh, wow. These guys are already on this. We got a couple of 360 horse. We've got a 348 horse. These guys are all over. Wow, they just blow up the chat. I love this.
Yeah.
Several for the 360. A couple for the 348. What do you think, Steve?
360. Yeah. In fact, here it is. I think it says 360. And
look.
Yeah, it's Kismet or something, whatever it is. I brought my 60. For whatever reason, I have this in front of me. And also another one of my favorite ads, this one here, the whole one about, offering your Pontiac the way you want it.
Right.
It's out of Motor Trend, this one right here, but basically do it yourself delight. And it shows all those good parts on it. This is from 62.
Yes.
All those goodies you could get, 4-speed and stuff like that. But yeah, 360 would be the 65 number, 64, 348. It's just, that's my guess.
All right. Steve said it. Let's see it. That is right. It is 360 horsepower. There's a beautiful Pontiac blue engine with the tri-power on it. They discontinued the tri-power at 67, mainly, they said, because GM came out with the edict that from 67 on, the only multiple carb car would be the Corvette. And of course, then they came out with your big 4 barrels and all that kind of stuff.
Quadrojet. Yeah.
Yep.
Which actually flowed as much air, apparently. It wasn't a bad, it was 700 CFM, these were, I think, 610 or so, so, these look way better, though. I like a tri-power.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And there's so many misconceptions about how they work. But if you've got somebody that knows what they're doing with the tri-power, they obviously put out a lot of horsepower. All right. Next question, guys. Pontiac owners, we love our large accelerator pedals. And Steve, I thought you'd enjoy this one. So all of those big accelerator pedals from the 60s and 70s, but which domestic manufacturer is considered to have the largest accelerator pedal on a domestic car? Was it A, Oldsmobile, B, Plymouth, C, AMC, or D, Lincoln?
Shall I or
Go for it, Steve.
Lincoln. There was some crazy. It was like a pizza box, like the 59 and 60 Continentals had these massive pedals, big goofy looking thing, like a snowshoe. But that's my guess. But I can't imagine Olds, Plymouth, or AMC have anything weird. But Lincoln had some weird pedals. Brake pedal too, massive. In a junkyard.
I knew you'd have a take on this, seeing so many different ones.
Right. Yeah, I was just in a 51 Lincoln Continental last week, and it's a little smaller, but the 60, that weird looking thing with the canted lights, those have huge pedals. Anyway.
Yes. You know, and even my 63 has a pretty significant pedal in it. But it's a skinny pedal. Yeah. It's not a wide pedal. Okay, what do we got? We got Lincoln, Oldsmobile, Lincoln. A lot of people like the Lincoln. I think you might have scared them off here. They're all going Lincoln. This is Pontiac Power Hour. Yes, it is, but it's relatable.
Yeah. And sometimes you can learn from your opposition. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know.
So I scoured the internet to try to find anything with a bigger pedal, and believe it or not, it is a Oldsmobile
Toronado.
Oldsmobile Toronado was considered one of the largest accelerator pedals, not just in length but in width, from the mid 60s. And of course, the adjacent brake pedal was also very large too. It's an amazing. I mean, the whole car is just. We actually go back and look at it.
Look at that flat floor too. No tranny tunnel, of course.
That's right.
Yeah, Tornadoes are amazing.
Yeah. I hated to go, Oldsmobile on a Pontiac Power Hour, but I felt like that was one of those where I personally love the way my interior is set up, but this was just something that was a little different, a little cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people do like the Tornado.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all I got for the trivia, guys. Again, we thank Super Clean for sponsoring that, and I'm going to open it up if you guys have any last questions for Steve, because we're right at 1 hour. Let's see what they got. In the meantime, Steve, not only we know where we can find you, but go ahead and remind everybody where they can find you and what's coming up for you.
Yeah. Well, the Junkyard Crawl YouTube channel. It's the Steve Mags YouTube channel, but if you Google Junkyard Crawl, you'll see it. There's like 400 videos. They're between 4 and 12 minutes long, and on anything from a Diamond T dump truck to a Toyota Supra. They're all there, and they're all wrecked cars. And in other words, they're factory cutaways, if you will. We get right inside and show what's weird about them. So it's kind of fun.
Yep. And just like you said, reminder, guys, head over to Steve Mag's YouTube channel. I've got it linked down in the chat. Subscribe to it. It's every day he's posting a video. So you guys will have content every day to watch, and you will learn something new. I learned about, aluminum box fans. I've learned about the Pontiac convertible GTO. Just everything's out there, and it's great information. All right. I think that's where we're at, Steve. We're right at 1 hour. We appreciate you coming on the Pontiac Power Hour. We know it's a little hour. It's an hour behind for you, but having you on the show was great. And we appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Josh. And thank you, Ray. Happy to come back anytime.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was awesome to meet you, sir.
Thank you.
Right. All right. Well, we will definitely catch you next time. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.